Charlie Kirk being murdered, Ukrainian girls being killed on trains, comedians being arrested for tweets in the UK, flag protests, a lot of crazy stuff going on. And there's one thing in common behind a lot of it, and that's a Buddhist concept called idiot compassion. What Buddhists identified was that yes, compassion is a good thing, but it didn't always mean being nice. It didn't always mean being agreeable. It's the yin side of compassion. They realized it was another side of compassion. It might be like taking drugs off a drug addict, having good boundaries, saying no. They realized that challenge, fierceness, and if you will, masculinity is needed for compassion. Obviously, there's equivalence in Christianity. Jesus turning over the moneylenders' temples is one example. There are others. Actually, I think this was a given when Christianity was born. If you think of the Romans, they were a hyper-masculine, strong, virile culture that balanced out that Christian sense of we're all one and love for all men. In history, people were much more masculine than they are now, both because of the chemicals, because of decadence, because of the way societies go around in circles. So it was just a given that that Christian acceptance and love was balanced by that more Roman fierceness. That balance is Western society, the Greco-Roman mixed with the Christian. As Christianity's become weak and society's become decadent, there's been a kind of pseudo-Christianity, which has become established, which is all about the acceptance, the yin side, without the yang side. What we're seeing is a rise of toxic femininity in the repression of the masculine. Charlie Kirk was clearly a masculine person, both in his demeanour, his jawline, the way he spoke, but also in the combative nature of what he would do. In the world of words and ideas, it's not about going off to fight people physically, but to debate people, to stand in a hostile place like a liberal university and say, I want to debate you, I will disagree with you. Doing that in a civil way, the gentleman, but in a masculine way that says, truth is what matters to me, not your feelings. The assassination of Charlie Kirk was an attack on masculinity and the masculinity that he represented. Equally, the murder of the Ukrainian refugee, she represented the feminine. If you see pictures of her, she's got a very feminine demeanour, body language is very feminine, she's a beautiful young woman. So what we see is the murder of the healthy masculine by the unhealthy feminine. I bet you any amount of money the shooter is a feminine style person. And the murder of the healthy feminine by the unhealthy masculine. The balance of yin and yang in our society has gone wrong. It's hard to argue with that when you look at how young people dress, how they move, what they do to themselves chemically and through operations. We've demonized the healthy masculine and the healthy feminine. Every tribal people knew the balance between yin and yang was the balance of health and well-being in a culture. The reason these two instances are so symbolic and may represent, may it be so, a turning point in our society to something healthier is the symbolism they represent. Jonathan Peugeot is someone that's well worth looking up on these topics, by the way. Equally, why has trans been the big issue of our day? Why has that been the big debate? Linehan, the first sort of celebrity, certainly one of the first comedians arrested in the UK. Why him? Because that was his topic, male and female, what it is to be a man, what it is to be a woman. Blurring this basic boundary, this basic distinction of reality is at the heart of a culture that's lost its sense of yin and yang, that's lost its sense of the healthy masculine and feminine. And again, if the healthy masculine is repressed, the unhealthy violent masculine re-emerges. If the healthy feminine is repressed, the gossiping, shaming, rallying, cancel mob of the unhealthy feminine, less known by our society, but we see that emerge particularly on social media. So what we have here is individual tragedies, but symbolic resonance. My girlfriend was very upset by Charlie Kirk death, and of course it's tragic for him and his family. But she didn't know him, she didn't follow him that much. I thought, why is she so upset? And I said, what does he mean to you? And she said, well, he's like the good dad, he says the truth. He's the man that sticks up for you. Same with Linehan. He might not look like a big muscly macho guy, but he says the truth. He's brave. That's a classic masculine virtue. Equally, what are the migrant protests all about in the UK? Boundaries. So one way of looking at unhealthy femininity is a boundary disorder. Unhealthy masculinity is being overly boundaried, saying just my people and my people are the master race and everyone else must die. That's over-boundaried, right? Saying let everyone in, all immigrants are good immigrants, immigrants can do no harm. That's the unhealthy feminine, that's the under-boundaried. Of course, when I say masculine feminine, I don't just mean men and women, though there's a propensity for men and women to be a certain way. One way I look at modern liberal politics, kind of psychologically, is essentially a mixture of narcissism and a boundary disorder. This sense of an edge being okay. It's okay to have limits. Modern liberal society, backed by money power, wants a limitless society. It says you have no boundaries, the country has no boundaries, people have no boundaries. And it's like, no, we need law and order. We need to be able to distinguish between people who are part of a culture and people who aren't, people we want in the culture and people that we don't. What is a man and a woman? A basic distinction. How do we work that out? We work that out through discussion. And when we can't talk, that's when people start killing each other. As soon as we say words of violence, we can't discuss things. Peterson says words die so people don't have to. And that's very wise. So if we go after the healthy masculinity of debate and robust discussion, all we're left with is the unhealthy masculinity of the application of physical force. Another aspect of toxic femininity we see at work here is battle for the victim position. This is one way toxic femininity grabs power, is by claiming the victim position. So if you tell black people they're always victims, they will feel justified in doing things to white people. Equally, if you tell men or women they're always victims. Notice that most of the aggression in the trans issue comes from men who would like to be women. It's actually about lowering their status to claim victimhood. If you're a white person, by the way, that's the only really way you can jump to the top of that victim hierarchy. Look up Jonathan Haidt's stuff on the sacred victim. Healthy masculinity protects the vulnerable. That did not happen to Arena on that train in America. Unhealthy masculinity persecutes the vulnerable. So if the victim is sacred, people disidentify with the persecutor. Now, we all have a side of us that's mean, an unhealthy masculine side. We all have a persecutor side. If we deny the masculine, we deny that side, then it comes out viciously and sideways and will be morally justified in odd ways. So while there are personal tragedies here that shouldn't be ignored, there's also a deeper symbolic resonance. The risk now is this becomes a polarizing point where these issues just deepen, but the opportunity that something good from terrible things could come is that we finally recognize this sickness at the heart of our society. We recognize that a man is not a woman, the masculine is not the feminine, and that healthy versions of both are needed.